Hello, ladies, and hello to all of our listeners. Thank you for joining us for another interview. Today, we're talking to LaDonna, one of our profiles in strength, a woman who leads. Fallon and I are going to talk with her about leaning into her strengths and how women in the past have inspired her for all the great things she does today. In celebration of Women's History Month, here we are. Thank you, LaDonna, for joining us. And I'll let Fallon give a little bit more background.
Yes, thank you so much, LaDonna. We really appreciate your time and your energy to join us today. So I will just give a brief little snippet of your bio, and then I'll let you kind of talk a little bit more about the work that you're doing in the arena of child prevention, juvenile justice, things of that nature. So LaDonna has over 20 years of experience in juvenile justice and child welfare. In her current shared role with the Nebraska Department of Education and Nebraska Children's and Families Foundation, LaDonna partners with school districts across the state to make sure transfers are timely with educational records for young people involved in the juvenile justice system.
Wow.
LaDonna is an appointed member of the Nebraska Children's Commission and is an active participant of the Nebraska Supreme Court Commission on Children's in the Courts. LaDonna holds a Master's of Science in Justice Administration and Crime Management, and a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice. That
Wow.
is a lot, LaDonna. That is a lot that you have happening in the juvenile justice system. As we go through this interview, we will see all five of LaDonna's strengths really hone in and highlight the work that she's doing in the community. So thank you again for joining us, LaDonna.
So top five: responsibility, discipline, ideation, belief, and strategic. Is there one that resonates the most with you in what you lean into on a daily basis? Is there one that just rang out like, this is me? I'm using this all the time.
Yes. Oh, good question. I would say ideation
Ideation.
because I am constantly thinking outside the box on ways to do things different. When you work in the child welfare and the juvenile justice system, oftentimes things are done the same way over and over and over again. And coming with a different lens and like, okay, how can we do this different? Nothing is changing. How can we do this different? And then just really trying to figure out how we can get better outcomes by shifting and doing things differently. So ideation really stands out for me because my wheels are constantly spinning on how to do things differently, thinking outside the box, introducing new things to systems on how we can have better outcomes for young people.
Okay, LaDonna. Well, we're going to jump into the questions if you don't mind. So our first question to you is, we would love to hear you talk more about the preventative work you're doing in the community, working with girls, and how do you lean into your strengths while doing the work?
Mm-hmm. Well, anytime that you are working in the community, you have to go into the space with I don't know, a pure heart, a clean heart with good intention, and be intentional in ensuring that you don't cause harm, but you're there to do good and making sure that everyone is being heard. So I use my five strengths when I am working in the community, working with young people, whether it be girls or whomever, ensuring that I come with a set of my own responsibilities, and obviously not trying to push that on the community, but also listening to their ideas, what's working for them, what's not working for them, and taking that and turning that into how we can use that for the better, or how can we build upon what is already existing.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay, LaDonna, and this is off script here. Do you mind sharing just a bit about your role as a probation officer, and how did that shift in that work align with your strengths and the work that you're doing today? Or is there a shift? Was there a shift? Is it still the same type of work?
When I was a probation officer, no, it's the work is different from what I'm doing now. And I think I really more of my strengths showed up as when I was a probation officer, because you have to keep in mind you're working with young people who have gotten in trouble with the law, you're working with families. So I really had to make sure that I kept my stuff and myself in order to be that example for the young people and for the families that I was working with, because I couldn't come into a space willy-nilly, whatever. I had to make sure that I was disciplined, that I was being responsible, that I followed through on the things that I said that I was going to do, to ensure that I was being a good example for the young people and the families that I was working with. So definitely had to really hone in on my strengths to, like I said, be that role model and that example for the young people and families that I was working with.
I love that, using strengths as an example and being your best person to inspire other people. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, so again, we are here during Women's History Month to celebrate women that are doing phenomenal things in their community. So during Women's History Month, how can we support and how can you support and empower women in traditionally underrepresented fields, such as the juvenile justice system on that higher level?
I would sum it up as listening. Everybody has a story, and listening to her story,
Mhm.
because everyone has a story. And I think sometimes we miss that. Just in general, everyone has a story. And listening to people's story, I think that is huge, because it shows intentionality. It shows a sense of being genuine, and engaging, because you're listening to what that person has gone through, what they're experiencing, ups and downs or whatever. So just listening to her story.
Love that.
Wouldn't it be a beautiful world if we listened more and judged less?
Oh my gosh, that would be huge. Yes.
And part of that story too, it's not about who's right or wrong. You start from seeking to understand. And I loved what you said about, coming in free of mind and assuming positive intent, right? Start with a place of positive intent. And I think so often, especially when somebody has over their head, you've done something wrong, or they're in a system of starting with positive intent gives grace to a person to tell their story. And
Absolutely. But
that's
right, even as an individual, you have to ensure that you're okay within yourself, because if you're carrying hurt and trauma with you, it's going to be hard to come into a space to work with young people, because you're carrying that junk with you that you haven't healed from. And I know we all have heard the saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think anything is intentional in those arenas, but sometimes we have to self-reflect and ensure that we're okay, that we're healed from our traumas or whatever, before we can go into any community or work with anyone when we're trying to inspire them and things like that. Because if we're not clean, have a clean heart or good intentions, it may not end well.
right.
And that's one of the things that I love about strengths, right? It is founded in research, right? The research shows that when people know the good in themselves, they build from that, right? So strength is the foundation of strengths. Gallup Strengths really is looking at the good in people, understanding the good in you first, and then you can then project that out and then just display it to the world. So yeah, that's one of the many things that I enjoy about Gallup Strengths, is that it's based off of research. They've touched millions of folks, right, with their assessment and helping folks understand the good in themselves and see the good in themselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
train of-
Everybody has strengths. Everybody.
absolutely.
Right. And
Absolutely.
they're all, you know, you have discipline as number 2, discipline's my number 34. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean I don't get things done, you know, so I
Right.
lean into what motivates me and what my talent is, making it a talent from my strength from within. And I think
Mhm.
it's great, you know, back to you're embracing your strength, saying this isn't what I'm missing, this is what I lead with, and thus your success and all the people around you that are trying to do better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Fallon, did you have any other questions before I ask the big Women's History Month question?
No, those were my 2 questions. I told LaDonna we're gonna keep this short and sweet.
Okay.
And LaDonna, we would love to hear from you. Is there a particular woman in the past that inspires you today? You know, what is there somebody who you celebrate or who inspires you, you'd like to shout out that inspires you today?
I do. My mother,
Mm,
Love it.
because of her, she's passed away, but because of her unwavering support
mm,
and her authenticity in every aspect of parenting and motherhood. Um, and I truly believe that has inspired me today. And that built my strengths, just because of her mothership and her leadership, with the nurture and the love that she provided me as a young girl growing up.
She saw your strengths and nurtured them. And then
I believe that, yes.
what was your mother's name? What's your mother's name?
My mother's name was Ruth Jones.
Love
mm.
it. I think we just need to shout out her name, you know,
That's
back.
right.
I love this. Somebody else had, another interview, he had said her grandmother, and, you know, women in the past that have the big names are wonderful, but, those that influenced us most, that nurtured the wonder and greatness, you know, that's awesome.
They're
Mhm.
right in our backyard. They're right in our backyard,
Exactly.
our inner circle. So yeah, yeah. And also one of our interviewees actually said that Sandy was someone that influenced her and built her up to kind of lead the way for her to leave her role as a CPA and then start her own small business working with women only.
Oh,
So
wow. Good
It's
for
a great,
you.
thank you. But I think it's a great reminder too, because I would never have thought that every day as we lean in and we continue to try to do good in the world, that we're impacting other women, other people when we don't even know we're doing it.
yeah,
And so
Absolutely.
always put the right foot forward and, you know, do our best and, you know,
Mhm.
listen more and judge less. I like it.
I
It's
love
and make an impact. So thank you, LaDonna. This was
that.
wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you to everyone who is listening and viewing this. Again, Sandy and I started off on an idea to say we can celebrate the women in our community and why not? And so here we are with these series of profiles and strengths and leaning into our strengths. So we appreciate everyone that is tuning in, viewing, reposting, retweeting, whatever you need to do to get the word out about these wonderful women in our community. So thank you.
Thank you.